Disrespect invites disrespect. Violence incites violence. When the powerful use their position to bully others, we all lose. And this instinct to humiliate, when it's modeled by someone in the public platform, by someone powerful, it filters down into everybody's life because it kind of gives permission for other people to do the same thing. We need the principled press to hold power to account, to call them on the carpet for every outrage.
What happens when the most celebrated actress in Hollywood takes her Golden Globes moment to call out a leader's cruelty without ever saying his name? The room froze. The cameras cut to uncomfortable faces. And then Trump did exactly what she was warning against. The twist? His tantrum spoke louder than her speech ever could, but that's just the beginning. Wait until you hear how this one act sparked a tidal wave of bold voices across Hollywood and beyond. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
But there was one performance this year that stunned me. It sank its hooks in my heart. Not because it was good. There was nothing good about it. An actor's only job is to enter the lives of people who are different from us and let you feel what that feels like. And there were many, many, many powerful performances this year that did exactly that. Breathtaking, compassionate work. It was that moment when the person asking to sit in the most respected seat in our country imitated a disabled reporter, someone he outranked in privilege, power, and the capacity.
What if the most powerful man in the country was called out on live TV without his name even being spoken? That's exactly what happened at the 2017 Golden Globes. The stage, usually filled with lighthearted jokes and movie nostalgia, became a moment of unexpected political confrontation when Meryl Streep stepped up to accept her award. Dressed elegantly and smiling calmly, she seemed ready for a traditional thank you speech. But instead, she launched into something that left the room silent, every word charged with quiet defiance. Though Streep never mentioned Donald Trump by name, the target of her words was crystal clear. She spoke about how important empathy is, in art and in leadership, and how dangerous cruelty can be when it's wielded by those in power. She mentioned a specific moment that had stuck with her, describing how she watched on TV as a public figure mocked a disabled reporter. "It broke my heart," she said, stopping briefly to let the weight of her statement settle. Her voice didn't shake, but you could feel her disappointment ripple through the air. Then came the line that echoed outside that room.
Currently, I am the most berated actress who likes football of my generation. I am the most overrated and most over-decorated. Embarrassing, and it's terrifying to put the target on your forehead, and it sets you up for all sorts of attacks and armies of brown shirts and bots and worse, and the only way you can do it is to feel you have to.
Disrespect invites disrespect. Violence incites violence. It wasn't loud or showy. It didn't need to be. The camera panned to the crowd. Some celebrities nodded in agreement, a few clapped softly, others shifted in their seats as though they were afraid to be caught reacting. It was impossible to ignore the tension. Everyone in that room knew who she was talking about. Even without naming him, her criticism hit hard, precisely because it wasn't smeared with shouting or hostility. It was the kind of calm truth that's uncomfortable to hear, yet impossible to deny. Of course, Trump couldn't let it go. Hours later, he was flailing on Twitter, calling Streep overrated in one of his classic meltdowns. This was the same man who'd once praised her as one of the greatest actresses. The internet exploded with memes about his obvious hypocrisy. But here's the thing, his reaction only gave her words more power, making her point for her. And that was just the beginning of the storm she started. What happens when one speech lights a fire under an entire industry? Meryl Streep's calm takedown at the Golden Globes didn't just stop with her standing ovation or Trump's Twitter tantrum. It sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Almost immediately, others joined in. Robert De Niro didn't mince words, referring to Trump as a clown, a fraud, a national embarrassment. Classic De Niro. He'd been vocal before, but this time, the determination in his tone felt sharper, angrier. It wasn't just another snarky swipe. It came from genuine frustration and concern for the country's well-being. It's like he summed up what half the country had been thinking, but in a way only he could, fiery and fearless. And then there was Cher. Oh, Cher. Unlike De Niro, she didn't bring the theatrics. Her critique had a more surgical precision. She targeted Trump's polished lies and his complete lack of empathy, drawing from her decades of witnessing politicians perform for the public. Cher's words carried weight, not just because of her boldness, but because she'd seen it all and was terrified by the direction things were going. Her fear for the country felt chilling, cutting beyond the usual celebrity commentary. This wasn't just about one man. This was about what happens when power is totally unchecked. Now, Trump being Trump, he couldn't keep his fingers off his phone, but his defensive rants only added fuel to the fire. The internet ate it up. Late-night comedians pounced, tearing apart his hypocrisy and reminding everyone how he'd once gushed over Streep, calling her excellent. His own words became meme-worthy punchlines, turning every tweet into another running joke. Grumpy Trumpy was trending before you could refresh your feed. Meanwhile, audiences began focusing on a different angle. Trump's awkward dynamic with Melania. Viral clips of her pulling her hand away from his or grimacing behind fake smiles had people glued to every public appearance. It may not have been political critique, but it told another damning story. All for show, no real connection. Streep's 6-minute speech was all it took to plant a seed. What started as an actress speaking her truth turned into an entire industry demanding empathy and accountability. But even this was just the beginning of the ripple effect. Meryl Streep used her platform to do something most wouldn't dare: pull power to account with nothing but words. Her speech proved that even the highest office isn't immune to being challenged when cruelty and arrogance go unchecked. By inspiring others like Robert De Niro and Cher to speak up, she reminded us that silence isn't an option when empathy is at stake. Leadership isn't about titles, it's about humanity. And if one actress can spark a wave of accountability, imagine what happens when more of us demand it. Influence isn't about status, it's about courage. And sometimes, courage is the loudest voice.